When the story broke, everyone had beautiful things to say about her.
Clearly, she was one of the most loving people. She loved a monster, so that says a lot about her personality and her as a person.
I will keep your secrets. Just think of me and the pages in your diary.
Today's story is one that still haunts the city of Kalamazoo. And honestly, it should haunt all of us. It's a story of a young woman, with her whole life ahead of her, taken far, far too soon. And as the layers unfolded, what started as a tragic murder revealed something even darker behind the pulpit. This is the case of Aniya Mack, and how her death ultimately led to the unraveling of Pastor Strickland and his wife, Jazmonique. Most people know the name Aniya Mack, but what they don't know is what came next. Because her murder wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning of a scandal so twisted, so disturbing, it pulled the curtain back on one of Kalamazoo's most trusted pastors. You see, while the community mourned Aniya, the truth about Pastor Strickland and what he and his wife were doing behind closed doors was finally starting to surface. But as you may know, in June 2018, tragedy struck. Aniya Mack's life was senselessly taken. Her murder, a chilling act partly fueled by jealousy tied to Pastor Strickland, shattered hearts and communities alike. It began when 24-year-old Aniya Mack disappeared. She stopped answering her phone, didn't show up to work. Something was clearly wrong. Her boyfriend, Leon Donovan Lewis, walked up to police and confessed to killing her.
Before they now, because I think something fishy's going on here.
Damn, dude.
Something fishy. There could be nothing. Maybe she's out with a new boyfriend, but why would she completely cut off everybody, all of her best friends?
What's going on, sir? Take me here and we'll talk about it on the way.
Just tell me now.
I killed my girlfriend.
6160. Can you come to the apartment, please? Where is she? We're out with boyfriend. He's reporting at 10:35. Where is she?
She's in the creek.
Where at?
She's married.
He said, "Just take me in. I killed my girlfriend." Lewis told police he was jealous, convinced Aniya was cheating on him. He'd seen texts, explicit messages between her and her pastor. That pastor was Reverend Strickland from Second Baptist Church. According to Lewis, Aniya told him that Strickland was paying her bills, her rent, and that she was blackmailing him to keep it quiet.
Walter.
Andy, the 79-page report lays out Donovan Lewis's confession, and what he told police was his motive. Lewis has a history of assaulting Aniya Mack, but he told police the alleged relationship she was having with Pastor Strickland pushed him over the edge. We want to warn you, some of the details in this report are graphic. On the morning he turned himself into police, Donovan Lewis posted this apology to his now deleted Facebook page. But there was also this video. It shows Lewis going through Aniya Mack's cell phone after he killed her. Lewis shows these text messages from Pastor Strickland to Mack, where Strickland says he's trying to give the WMU student the best sex she's ever had. Lewis told police it was these messages that pushed him to the brink. The former basketball player and lifeguard slit Mack's throat, stuffed her into a suitcase, and swam into the Comstock Creek, burying the body. Lewis then confessed to the murder as police searched her apartment. As Lewis sat in the squad car, he told police Pastor Strickland paid Mack's rent and car note. He also accuses Strickland of threatening Mack, who wanted to reveal the alleged relationship to Strickland's wife. While Lewis has admitted to the murder, he plans to plead insanity. Mack's mother previously told News Channel 3 what Lewis did was overkill.
And he don't need to put my family through anything because he done already did what he did. And he just needs to just say, I'm pleading guilty and be done.
Strickland has denied all allegations and also declined to comment on this story. Representatives from Second Baptist Church and the local NAACP chapter also had no comment. Meantime, Lewis remains behind bars at the Kalamazoo County Jail.
And whether or not those claims were true, what we know for certain is that Lewis snapped. He admitted to hitting Aniya, slitting her throat, and hiding her body plow in a suitcase that he dumped in Comstock Creek.
It's a little bit sloped right there.
Now, Donovan, did you have her on this side of the guardrail first? In a suitcase, or did you bring her all the way down? All the way down. All the way down here? Okay, so you wheel her in the suitcase all the way down here? Okay. And you park back up by where the SUV is? And how do you
Where the white truck is?
10 feet that way. And how do you get her in the water? You just threw her in the suitcase into the water. Okay, and this is the right spot? Okay, where do you want these guys to go? Straight. Straight down?
Switch sides so the sun's not in my
Sure, no problem.
Her death was brutal, senseless, and heartbreaking.
I can't imagine the hurt that I've caused. I don't even know the beginning. I just want to say sorry to the family. That's all.
When I sentence you, Mr. Lewis, I balance the principles of punishment, rehabilitation, protection of society, as well as deterrence. Particularly, you being cooperative, taking full responsibility, not minimizing your role in this, and expressing a level of remorse, a decent education. There are a lot of good things here that you had developed over your life, Mr. Lewis, and you threw all of that out the window back on June 24th. Aniya Mack didn't deserve any of these things. She didn't deserve to be hit to begin with. She didn't deserve to be put unconscious. She didn't deserve to be stabbed and murdered. And her body didn't deserve to be treated less than garbage. And all of that happened because of you, nobody else.
Now with the sentence, I feel good because my sister is okay with the sentence, and so I'm okay with it.
You spoke about forgiveness, not wanting to take pain for pain, but hoping that he can live with what he's done. Can you talk about that?
Well, he have to live with it for the rest of his life. You know, whether he was sincere with what he said in the courtroom or not, he has to live with it. And I hope he can, and I meant that. I haven't forgiven him. My sister, I haven't. And in time, I'm sure I will, but not now.
Now, at the time, most people figured Pastor Strickland would be cleared for any wrongdoing regarding Aniya, as he denied everything at the time. He even went so far as to say he barely knew Aniya and that she was just a parishioner. But just 2 years later, his name was back in the headlines. And this time, the charges weren't about rumors, they were criminal. In August of 2020, Pastor Strickland was charged with 11 felonies, including child sexually abusive activity and human trafficking of minors. Prosecutors said that from 2015 to 2018, he paid teenage boys to perform sex acts with his wife, Jazmonique, while he watched, let me say that again, a trusted pastor, a man in a position of spiritual authority, paid underage boys to engage in sex with his wife. And he sat there and watched. This was no misunderstanding, it was calculated and it was evil.
Target 8 is breaking startling new allegations involving a well-known pastor, sex, money, and teenagers. Reverend Strickland is a pastor at Kalamazoo's historic Second Baptist Church and former president of that city's NAACP.
The husband and father is also the subject of a months-long sex assault investigation by Michigan State Police. Target 8 investigator Susan Samples is breaking some new details on what police say they've uncovered about Strickland and his wife, a former parapro at a Kalamazoo high school.
Brian and Marley, Reverend Strickland denies the findings of MSP's 4-month investigation, a case that's now in the hands of Kalamazoo County's prosecutor, who will decide any charges.
Hi, is this Reverend Strickland?
It was him.
And I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to the findings of the police investigation.
Multiple sources confirmed to Target 8 that detectives found Pastor Strickland and his wife Jazmonique paid teenagers to engage in sexual acts at the Strickland's home on Kalamazoo's Prairie Avenue, a property owned by Second Baptist Church where Strickland has preached since 2012.
The number of alleged victims or potential victims is several.
Other sources tell us police have identified 4 teenage victims, but are searching for more. The youngest was 14 years old at the time. All are under 17.
At this point, with everything we've done, we believe that it occurred over a period of time on more than one occasion.
Strickland's wife, Jazmonique, worked at Phoenix High School in Kalamazoo, but submitted this letter of resignation in September, the day before police executed a search warrant on the Prairie Avenue home. Police would not confirm if any alleged victims were students of Kalamazoo Public Schools.
Our sources tell us that you were paying teenagers to engage in sexual activity in your home.
Strickland called the allegations against him and his wife, quote, absolutely 100% false. He refused a recorded interview, but said it's really unfortunate your whole life can be destroyed by things you can't respond to. Strickland said he can't address the accusations because he has yet to hear them from police or his lawyer.
I would like to thank all of the members of the Alliance.
This was the pastor at a 2013 news conference by the Northside Ministerial Alliance.
For far too often, residents of the Kalamazoo Northside community are found guilty until proven innocent.
Strickland was defending a suspect at the time, but these days he's advocating for himself. The state police investigation isn't the gold Cadillac driving pastor's first negative publicity. Last summer, murder suspect Donovan Lewis told police he killed his girlfriend, WMU student Aniya Mack, over her growing relationship with her pastor, Strickland. The 36-year-old ended his term as Kalamazoo's NAACP president last month, but he told me he's still pastor at Second Baptist, where he preached last Sunday.
Whether it's a prominent member of the community, a non-prominent member of the community, we are going to investigate every crime like we normally would. We're going to follow the facts, we're going to do the interviews, we're going to do it thoroughly and fairly.
Police tell us the current investigation into Strickland and his wife is entirely separate and has nothing at all to do with the murder of Aniya Mack. On the Strickland case, Kalamazoo County Prosecutor Jeff Getting could not say today when he will make a charging decision. Attorneys for Strickland and his wife both said they will vigorously defend.
This was no misunderstanding. It was calculated and it was evil. In May 2021, during a preliminary hearing for Jazmonique Strickland, a 20-year-old man bravely took the stand. His testimony was harrowing, a revelation of betrayal and abuse that defied belief. At just 16 years old, he had been paid by Pastor Strickland to engage in SA with Jazmonique while Strickland watched. These encounters, sickeningly orchestrated, took place in the basement of the Strickland's Kalamazoo home. After one such encounter, Strickland drove him to an ATM and handed him $100, a chilling transaction that reduced a young life to a mere commodity. The young man
without having to post any bail. Now, if convicted, Jazmonique faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. State police accuse the former Kalamazoo Public Schools employee of engaging in sex acts with 3 teen boys while her husband watched. Jazmonique Strickland faces multiple counts of child sexual abuse, criminal sexual conduct, and human trafficking of a minor.
Yes, Andy, today in the courtroom, we heard from one of those alleged underage victims who described multiple sexual encounters with Jazmonique Strickland and her husband Strick. Now, for about 2 hours, the victim described those encounters that he says took place in the Strickland's basement in Kalamazoo. Now 20 years old, the victim says he was 16 at the time, testifying he was instructed to get naked, and then Strick would pay him to have sex with Jazmonique while the pastor watched. He described on one occasion Strick took him to an ATM and paid him $100 after an encounter. The victim told the court he viewed Strick as a mentor at the time. At times during examination, the victim had trouble remembering specific details, including the days of the alleged sexual encounters, but says there's something he'll never forget. During cross-examination, Strickland's attorney asked him if he had a difficult time remembering those details, to which he said yes, because it was 4 years earlier, but then added, "I can remember because it happened to me. And if something traumatic happens to you, you can remember."
Described Strickland as a mentor, someone he trusted deeply. His words cut through the courtroom as he stated, "I can remember because it happened to me. Something traumatic happens to you, you can remember." The weight of his pain was palpable, a stark reminder of the scars left by such horrifying acts. Yet despite this gut-wrenching testimony, the judge dismissed all charges against Jazmonique Strickland. The reasoning? Insufficient evidence that she had used her position at Phoenix High School to coerce the teen or played any role in paying him for sex. The court concluded that the acts were facilitated by her husband and that her interactions with the victim within the school setting were minimal. But the dismissal of charges does not erase the testimonies. It does not erase the anguish endured by those boys. Their voices exposed a grotesque abuse of power, a betrayal of trust so profound that its echoes will linger for years to come. Fast forward to 2022. After years of denial and delays, Pastor Strickland finally stood before the court, but not for the most serious accusations. Not for trafficking, not for child exploitation, not even for the abuse that multiple young men bravely testified about. Instead, he took a deal. He pled guilty to one charge, facilitating travel for the purpose of prostitution, a softer charge that stripped the crimes of their true weight, one that allowed him to avoid registering as a sex offender. No probation, no lasting record of what he truly did. And in January of 2023, the sentence came down, just 12 months in county jail. 1 year for a man who was trusted by his community, respected by his congregation, and still chose to use that power to exploit vulnerable teenage boys.
He is live now at the Kalamazoo County Courthouse to explain why the prosecution says Strickland has shown no signs of taking any responsibility here, Mike.
Yeah, Andy, and prosecutors said in court today they thought the plea deal they structured would allow the former pastor to take some accountability and some responsibility for his actions. But to their dismay, Strickland showed little remorse today here in court. Instead, it turned into a blame game. Strickland even criticizing the prosecution for how his sentence impacted the alleged victims in this case. Man once considered a community leader, now a convicted criminal.
I am not guilty of what I was accused of.
Strickland was sentenced today in connection to accusations he paid male teens to have sex with his wife, Jazmonique, a former Kalamazoo Public Schools secretary, inside the couple's Prairie Avenue home around 2018.
Took advantage of them and forever harmed them for his own warped sexual pleasure.
Heading out in handcuffs this morning, the 40-year-old former Second Baptist Church pastor and former Kalamazoo NAACP chapter president. Strickland will spend 12 months in the Kalamazoo County Jail.
This was a witch hunt and a lynching from the beginning.
Exploit vulnerable teenage boys. 1 year for the pain he caused. For the manipulation, the silence, the shame those boys were left to carry. A moment of reckoning? Maybe. But let's be honest, it could never, ever undo the damage that was done. The scars are real, the trauma is lasting, and the trust, it's gone. And now, here we are, 2025, and he's back in the headlines again. This time, not for abuse, but for stealing, charged with embezzlement from a church in Mississippi. The same man who once preached about morality, now accused of robbing the very house he once stood in.
Disgraced former Kalamazoo church pastor sent to prison for sex crimes in Kalamazoo 2 years ago is now accused of embezzling tens of thousands of dollars from a different church in a different state. News Channel 3's Abigail Taylor is joining us live in studio with more on this new development. Abigail.
Yeah, Andy, you know, you and the viewers probably remember this man, Strickland. He was sentenced to 12 months in prison in 2023. Strickland was sentenced for paying teenage boys to participate in sex acts with his wife in 2018 inside of their home. Strickland, released from prison in January of last year, now faces a separate charge as a pastor, this time in Mississippi. According to the district attorney's office in Covington County there, Strickland is charged with embezzlement from a church. That's about an hour southeast of Jackson. The district attorney's office tells me he's unable to provide any more information at this time because it's an active investigation.
From pulpit to predator to repeat offender. And somehow the damage just keeps spreading. Another cut into the already fragile trust that communities place in spiritual leaders. Because when a pastor crosses the line, it doesn't just wound the victims, it poisons the pulpit, It shakes the faith of everyone who believed in him. Strickland isn't just a man who fell from grace. He keeps falling, and he keeps dragging the name of faith down with him. And as these charges unfold, we're reminded of one thing. Accountability doesn't end when the headlines fade. It demands we remember the victims, respect the truth, and refuse to let power disguise predators ever again. Let me be real with y'all for a second. Aniya Mack deserved better. She deserved protection. She deserved support. And she damn sure didn't deserve to die caught in a web of secrets and control. Her death wasn't just the result of one man's rage. It was part of a system of betrayal that started way before that argument ever happened. And to those young boys whose trauma was exploited by people who hid behind scripture, I see you. This isn't just true crime. This is a true tragedy, but it's also a wake-up call. Thank you for watching Deep Dive News. If you found this story as heavy and important as I did, please like, share, and subscribe. And above all, remember to protect each other, because not every predator looks like one.